Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today it's time for a quick tip, and I thought it would be good to talk about different kinds of hammers that are important for a beginner silversmith. So I'll talk about a few of the basic hammers, most of which I have, and I'll talk about a couple that I don't have as well. So let's get started. So this is one of my design ideas sketchbooks you can get on my merch store. There's a number of different models. Each one has different information about metalsmithing on the back or on the front. This one has flow temperatures of solder. I just put up a new one which has the Mohs scale of hardness and some common minerals that have the different hardnesses, as well as some field testing information if you want to test minerals that way. So might be useful. What I really like about them though is I can keep track of my projects and have a permanent record of what I've made. So that way I can go back and check out how I did something without having to reinvent the wheel. So, all right, well, let's see what we got on the slab today here. Oh, get yourself one or two of these. I think they're really handy and a nice way to keep a record of what you've made. So not much of a picture for a project today because we're talking about hammers, but I do want to talk about some different ones. Alright, so first off, something to know about silver is that it's relatively soft. Even sterling silver is relatively soft compared to the head of a hammer. And so if you're going to be shaping silver around a mandrel or pounding it flat on something and trying not to mark it up with lots of little ding marks, you're going to want something that's softer than the metal itself so that it shapes it, imparts some force to it so it modifies its shape, but doesn't mar the surface so much. So traditionally that was done by a rawhide mallet, okay, like this. It's got some rawhide that's wrapped up into a spiral to make kind of a hard but not hard as silver kind of head. And most people use these things, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do or not, but there's another option as far as these go. A lot of times you use this to shape rings on the ring mandrel, or that kind of a purpose, or trying to, knock out a bend that you don't like or something. You also have this option here, which is a plastic-headed hammer. I don't know if Sears honestly exists as an entity anymore, but they used to have Craftsman tools, and one thing about this one was they had a lifetime guarantee, so when you wear the hammer out, if you take it back, they would give you one for free. Now, I don't know if that still holds true because I think Sears has been mostly dissolved and eaten up by corporations or something. So you'd have to look and find out, but they used to have a lifetime warranty on these. They serve basically the same purpose as a rawhide mallet. And here's the pros and cons from my perspective. Not everybody probably will agree with this, and that's okay. The reason I don't like the rawhide mallet is because of the size of the head. So sometimes you want to direct enough force to really shape some thick metal without dinging it up, but that's a really wide area to hit something with. So if you're trying to hit a specific spot that's pretty small and just isolate your hit in that spot, it's nearly impossible with one of these. And so that's the disadvantage to those, in my opinion. The advantage to these is they have a smaller head. Not only that, they're also heavier too because they have a metal center here that weighs quite a bit. So you can get quite a bit of force behind this and knock little dents and bends out that you don't want pretty effectively with a plastic one, more so for me than with a rawhide mallet. So you can experiment with both, but from my perspective, I think this is a better one. Now, when I'm showing beginners how to shape things, a lot of times they're tempted to use this rubber side. And that is not as effective as the plastic side on these things. It goes back to, from what I understand in physics, if I remember right, the difference between elastic and inelastic collisions. Because your idea is to impart some force into the piece you're trying to shape. And with something bouncy like rubber, some of that force is absorbed by the rebound. It takes away some of the impact. It doesn't impart all of the force right into the piece so much. If you have something that doesn't bounce as much, more of that force ends up shaping that metal or pushing into that metal. So I think it's much more effective to use the plastic side because it's a more inelastic collision. It doesn't bounce as much. So, okay, one disadvantage about these things, but it's not really a disadvantage if it still holds true that Craftsman will replace these. I don't know if that's true or not anymore. They used to. I've replaced a few of them, but over time, if you're using them to stretch rings on a mandrel, sometimes you can hit downwards and spin the mandrel to get things to stretch out. It will eat up your hammer like this. It starts to chip off little pieces. But they last surprisingly long, and even if Sears doesn't replace them anymore, I think last time I looked they were maybe $15 or $20 at the most. So if you have to replace one every 2 years or something like that, that's reasonably cheap. So, but I really like these compared to the rawhide mallets. So probably the second most important hammer for me is the chasing hammer. And I didn't even realize this when I first started. I only started to do a lot of shaping with hammers when I started the YouTube channel and I started expanding what I was doing. But I find this one really useful. It's generally, chasing hammers have kind of a curved, wide surface like this. I usually polish mine, and this one's due for a polish, so it doesn't have a lot of dings in it to impart to the metal, because mostly you're using this to either flatten or shape metal. And it's really pretty effective at that. Something about the way they have these nicely balanced handles. This is actually a replacement handle I turned on my lathe because I broke the original one. But they usually have kind of a bulb at the bottom with kind of a skinny top like this. And it gives you kind of a little impact because of the snap to it. Or something, it seems like to me. And so it gives this really nice impact. So if you have a nice smooth surface, you can move the metal much more effectively than if you're using a rawhide mallet or a plastic hammer. The trade-off is you could ding up the metal a little bit. You know, it's going to leave hit marks on it. The back side is a simple peen. You can polish that up too, really nice. The reason this one's so rough is because it's a cheap one. You can get nicer ones that are better made than this. I probably only paid about 10 bucks for this, so, but I've gotten about 20 years out of it, so it was a good investment. You can also, just for texturing, this is a pretty effective tool for texturing. If you want to make a hammered band or something, this peen is perfectly legitimate to use for that, to ding up the metal to give it kind of that shiny look that's so nice that a lot of people like. I also use the edge of this to make kind of a fun texture where it's got kind of just a corrugation almost, and that looks really good in some things, so I use that a lot for that. But there's lots of things you can do with it. A lot of people use it for riveting because it's got a smaller head and you can impart some force more effectively in a small area, I think. Hammer number 3. And I don't have hammer number 3, actually. I have a replacement for hammer number 3. And you'll laugh about this one because it's so beat up and the handle is pretty much broken off of this one. But a ball peen hammer looks much like this. It's got a big flat head on the front and a peen on the back. Much heavier than a chasing hammer generally. You can also polish those up really nicely to have a nice smooth surface so you don't ding up the metal in ways that you don't want to. But since I don't have one of these, I've been using this dead blow hammer for a number of years to the point where it's falling apart. I think my brother got this. This is actually my brother's hammer that he left with me. And I think he got this in the 80s maybe, so it's pretty old. But a dead blow hammer, what it does is it doesn't bounce as much as a regular hammer when you make an impact. It's got a moving weight inside of it that cancels out the rebound a little bit because it slides forward. And so it gives you a really solid, non-bouncy impact, so it imparts more force into the piece you're trying to hit. So I use this mostly for like using my disc cutter, where I have to hit it really hard to knock a circle out of a piece of sheet. It works great for that because it imparts so much force. You can also use some other types of hammers for that, but this one works really well for me for that because I have kind of a crummy disc cutter. So, so that's a dead blow hammer. Ball peen, used much like this, except you can get some more depth when you're texturing and stuff like that, and it's just a little bit more substantial hammer. So. By the way, if I'm talking about these and there's some use for these that I am totally unaware of, I'd love it if you'd share that with me, because I am certainly no expert on everything, and I love to hear how people use things in different ways. It teaches me good techniques and things that I can improve my metalsmithing with. So I appreciate it if you leave comments about that kind of stuff. Another one that I wanted to talk about, and this one I got late in the game too. I picked one of these up from online somewhere. They have these heads that you can unscrew, which is kind of cool, and they have different textures on them. So you can, if you want to get a unique texture, you can swap it out for, you know, say you want to have a bunch of little dings like that. You just put that one on and do it like that. This one kind of looks like the stuff that's anti-skid plating. This one's just kind of a waffle iron looking thing. This one just looks like a, I don't know, kind of a nipple sort of looking thing. And this is just a variation of this one. It's got flatter striations. This one was kind of more angular. I've used this one more than this one because it leaves a better impact. And correct me if I'm wrong if you know better than I do about this, but I have not found a really quality one of these yet. They're cheap. The metal is not very sturdy, and it starts to get dinged up very quickly. And so I don't think I paid much for it. But if anybody knows of a good brand of these, I'd like to have one that lasts a little bit longer, because the more you use it, the less useful those different textures are going to become. So, because they get beat up. But those are kind of fun to have if you want to change things up a little bit. Not really necessary, but kind of a fun thing that you can add some different features to your jewelry. Finally, the last one, and I don't know much about this because I've been told I should get one for stamping and things like that, where it'll not damage the stamps themselves because it's not as hard as the steel that they're made out of. So they make brass hammers. Now, I don't think you can find them locally generally. I think you have to order them from a jewelry supply place. I've been looking in the stores to see if I can grab one, but I need to break down and just buy one, because I think that would be useful when you're stamping or you know, situations like that where you're trying to not damage a tool, because it's brass being softer than steel. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your tips and ideas about hammers. There are certainly tons of different kinds of hammers besides these basic ones I just talked about. I'd love to hear about your favorite hammer if you have one that you really like. It's always interesting, like I said, to learn what other people's techniques are, because it makes me a better silversmith. Let me know what you think. All right, well, that was a little bit about different basic hammers for metalsmithing. I hope you found that useful or informative. If you did, it would be great if you hit the like button before you go. And YouTube has a new feature called hyping, which if you can do that for me, that would be great as well. But certainly leave a comment. I'd love to hear what kind of hammers that you like to use and what situation you use them in, or ideas for cool hammers that I might invest in that might be useful for me as well. So leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'd also love it if you go visit my main channel page. I have 660 plus videos now. I do 3 per week. I do one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday generally. And so there's a constant stream of pretty good content coming out, whether you're a beginner or someone with a little bit more experience. So check that out, watch a few of those. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost anything, and it makes it easier to find my content. You can even set up a notification so that you get notified every time I publish a video. So make sure to do that before you go. I wanted to thank some groups of people before I go. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters. They provide not only financial support, but a positive environment over there full of artistic people who have a lot of know-how. And so we can share ideas and resources and you know, give input on each other's pieces. It's a nice learning environment over there, and I want to thank them for making it that way. Thank you so much. The other group are my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 29,200, which is awesome. Thank you for that. I really like the comment section on YouTube as well. I learned so much from all of you for sharing your knowledge, and I appreciate that. Ultimately, I want this to be a learning place, and so when you put in your 2 cents and let me know how you do things, or advise me on a better way to do something, I learn from that, and I hope other people learn from it as well. So thanks for your advice and comments. I also do appreciate the Buy Me a Coffees, the Super Thanks, the merch purchases from my store, buying my ebooks. All of that stuff makes my channel sustainable, and I couldn't do it without your help, so thank you for that. The video description has some important links down below. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more information about that particular platform. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks I told you about at the beginning. Or some other merch. There's a number of different interesting things over there, so check it out. And finally, there's a link to my newest ebook, which is a guide to all of 2025's tutorials, including extra information and a link to the tutorial about each one I did last year. So it's a great way to have a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertips and a really nice way to support my channel. So get yourself one of those too. You'll have projects for a long time. You can even get all 3 years that I've done, which is 2023, 2024, and 2025, for a discount. So look for that link on my merch store. It's $15 off if you get all 3 at once, I think. So you'll have projects for a long time if you get all 3 of those. All right, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.